Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. In this video I wanted to show you beautiful Hong Kong. We had a chance to visit Hong Kong this year back in April. We spent there a week and we had a chance to revisit some of my absolutely favorite places. Why favorite? It's because it was actually my 10th anniversary of studying abroad in Hong Kong. I had a chance to study abroad in Hong Kong back in 2013 and I fell in love with the city. I had absolutely best time and I wanted to return ever since. And this time I brought my partner Jose with me and I wanted to show him all the places that I absolutely love. And I thought it would be a great opportunity to record it on video because it might be useful for someone planning a trip to Hong Kong. So I hope you guys enjoy this video and find it useful. And without further ado, let's get started. Once we landed in Hong Kong airport, we took an MTR train all the way to the Central. The train takes about half an hour and costs about £10 each way per person, and it stops. It has a couple of stops before Hong Kong Central, so if you need to exit early, you have a chance to do so. In Hong Kong, for the first 2 days, we decided to splurge because it was my birthday and we stayed at JW Marriott because we also have a really nice discount for Marriott hotels. But I cannot say it was absolutely worth it. If we didn't have a discount, we wouldn't have booked it. But anyway, it was quite nice. So we checked in, left our bags and went out to the city center. We were super hungry. We are queuing for a place which I visited once 10 years ago and really liked it. It actually has a Michelin star, even though it doesn't look like it has, but I'm really excited to try it again after all these years. The place is called Tim Ho Wan and usually there is a large queue. I think we've been queuing for like about 10 minutes and it's moving pretty fast. So I was a bit worried because it's closing in an hour and a half, but it looks like we will be able to make it, hopefully. Fingers crossed. It's a bit tricky to find this place because the MTR and the shopping mall nearby are like a maze, but once you find it, you're sorted. The things you need to try are these barbecue buns. They are honestly out of this world. These rolls were also super nice, and of course the dim sum. Dim sum was great, but the previous two were my absolute favorite dishes. And you know the best thing, everything is really affordable for all these food. We paid around 30 British pounds. It was honestly a steal for a Michelin star restaurant. Our next location was a few steps away. It was located on the rooftop of the IFC Mall, and it's a place that I frequented as a student. It used to be one of my favorite places. It's very quiet, and lots of people come there for a date or just to read a book and chill, and the view is really beautiful, and it's also free, so why not visit? Our next destination was just a short walk away. Well, not so short maybe, but we walked for around maybe 20 minutes and it was a much more crowded and much more touristy thing to do. It's actually not an attraction, it's actually a functioning ferry. You can pay for it with an Octopus card. By the way, for Hong Kong, you absolutely need to buy an Octopus card. It's very useful. You can pay with it in convenience stores and you can pay with it for all public transport. And Star Ferry is public transport. One ride costs just 2.5 Hong Kong dollars. It's so cheap, it's something like 25p, and the views are unreal. It connects Hong Kong Island with the Tsim Sha Tsui area. And it's so affordable, you can take it both ways and see which views do you like the most. We weren't so lucky because it was pouring, but you can still see how beautiful the views and the skyline of Hong Kong is from the ferry. We took the Star Ferry both ways, so we ended up back in Hong Kong Island. And since the weather wasn't really that great, we decided to look for another activity that is covered. And that activity was exploring the longest escalator located in the mid-levels area of Hong Kong. I actually love mid-levels. Mid-levels, it's like a Soho of Hong Kong. It's like Soho in London. There are so many nice restaurants. It's like a party area as well. There are lots of shops, boutiques, bubble tea stores, and it's also home to the longest escalator in the world. In the morning, it goes all the way to the city center, but in the evening, it changes direction and goes all the way up. So people can commute home without needing to climb 1,000 steps because Hong Kong is really hilly. We actually exited in one of the sections and went to this bubble tea store called Silk. During 7 days in Hong Kong, we've tried multiple bubble teas, but this one was my absolute favorite. So if you are ever in the mid-levels area, I definitely recommend Silk. Since we were nearby, I decided to revisit my university memories and go to the LKF area of Hong Kong. LKF stands for Lan Kwai Fong, and it's the party district of Hong Kong. It's where all the bars and nightclubs are located, and it's a really fun area. Good morning. It is my birthday today, and we took a lot of time actually getting ready in the morning, so it's already almost 10. It was time for us to have breakfast, and we were very close to the Wan Chai area. That was actually just about 10 minutes walking from our hotel. And Wan Chai has a lot of different brunch places because lots of offices are located nearby. So we picked one with a really good rating. It was this place called Baked. The prices were actually quite high. I would say they were even higher than in London, but the portions were also massive. But we also loved it. It was really delicious. So if you're in the area, I can definitely recommend this place too. So in total, we spent around £45 for two breakfast dishes. We still had some time before our booked lunch, our birthday lunch. So we decided to walk around Wan Chai and explore this one hipster street that everyone recommends called Moon Street. Around the area of Moon Street, there are plenty of different cafes, restaurants, and there are also lots of different small cute shops. One of the shops that was recommended to me was called Kapok, and it's a shop where you can find a lot of things from independent designers. So it's quite a famous and popular shop in Hong Kong. Once we explored Wan Chai, we headed back to Tsim Sha Tsui area and we headed to Kowloon Park. Kowloon Park is an oasis of greenery in the middle of a super busy city. There are lots of birds you can look at. There were actually, quite a few of different birds, and it's just very chilled and tranquil there, so it's a nice place to rest. Next, we headed to a restaurant. It was a little bit too early to eat after such a filling breakfast, but we had made this booking a month in advance, and it was my birthday lunch at a 3 Michelin star restaurant called Tian Court. Normally, it's pretty expensive. The dinner menus are really pricey, but they had this weekday lunch offer for 45 or 50 pounds per person, and we've never been to a 3 Michelin star restaurant before, so we decided to try it. And well, I must say,
Interesting.
that I guess our palate was not refined enough because we found the dishes a little bit too weird for our liking, and I literally liked all the other places we visited in Hong Kong, including fast food places, better than this restaurant, which was really unfortunate because I was so much looking forward to visiting it. But anyway, our next location was the famous Avenue of Stars. The Avenue of Stars is one of the main landmarks of Hong Kong and probably the the best walking street in the city with the most beautiful, stunning views over the city. And if you know a lot of celebrities in Hong Kong, you can see also their fingerprints imprinted on the handrails of the promenade. Well, of course, not fingerprints, but the handprints, like this one. For example, a celebrity you definitely know, Jackie Chan, you will be able to find his handprint somewhere across the Avenue of Stars. I recommend coming to the Avenue of Stars during the day to see the view, but I also recommend coming there again at night. Most of the people come here just before 8 p.m. because that's when the show starts. I will talk about show a bit later, but I definitely recommend visiting it. And this is the most famous statue on the Avenue of Stars, the famous statue of Bruce Lee. Hong Kong is one of the best places in the world to do shopping. There are so many shopping malls, and honestly, some of the shopping malls are really impressive. This shopping mall is called K11, and it's almost like an art gallery. So besides the regular shops and boutiques, you can see some art installations and exhibition, and they are pretty unique. Our next destination was located a half an hour walk away. It's Ladies Market, but we decided to stop halfway for a coffee in this shopping mall that was still being built. And this coffee shop was unique because you need to do everything by yourself. There is no barista. The Ladies Market is in Mong Kok, is probably the biggest market in Hong Kong, but in my opinion it is not very interesting unless you want to buy a lot of fake things, but Jose really wanted to see it. The Mong Kok area is pretty good for eating though, there are plenty of restaurants. Our next location was the famous Ozone Bar in Ritz-Carlton, Hong Kong. It's famous because it's the tallest bar in the world, but unfortunately it was raining so the terrace was closed, so I cannot show you the beautiful view. But you have to trust me, 10 years ago it was amazing. We arrived at the Temple Street Night Market. It's kind of late, so it's probably closing soon, but I still see some stalls and I still see a lot of people eating out. Temple Street Market is famous for its food. There are plenty of affordable places to eat, and there are also places where you can shop, but we were interested in a particular spot where we were heading. We actually had to queue a little bit to get there. The place is called Mak Man Ki Noodle Shop, and it had one of the best noodles I've tried in Hong Kong. It's very unappealing, but it's actually featured in the Michelin Guide, and it was great. Next morning, we headed to another popular destination in Hong Kong, Causeway Bay. Breakfast, we decided to go to this place called Quam. It's a traditional Beijing crepe restaurant. They prepare pancakes, basically northern, well, not northern, mainland China style pancakes. Not very common thing in Hong Kong, but we found it, and I love them, and I hope it stays too. I love Jinbing, I think that's how they're called, the Chinese crepes. They're not such a common thing in Hong Kong because it is a mainland China thing, a mainland China dish. So it was tricky to find that place, but we found it, we loved it, and decided to walk around the area. So the area is called the Causeway Bay. As I mentioned, it's one of the busiest areas of Hong Kong. Not only there are plenty of shopping malls, and there is probably the highest concentration of shopping malls and places I've seen so far. Just look at how many people there are on the streets, but there are also lots of residential buildings, so people actually live there. In my opinion, Causeway Bay is actually a good place to go if you're interested in doing shopping and exploring some local brands, because there are some shopping malls where you can find some shops, really quirky and unique shops, which I haven't seen anywhere else in Hong Kong, and actually see places where locals buy stuff, also buy books and beauty products. And if you're lucky to be a local size, because I'm, for example, way too tall and way too heavy to buy clothes in Hong Kong. So if you're petite, then you will be able maybe to buy something there that is very unique. There is also a really nice Japanese chain called Pepper Steak. I used to love it as a student, and I couldn't miss an opportunity to revisit it and have some lunch there. It was time for us to change hotels, so we went back to Admiralty and on the way stopped by Dominic Ansel Bakery. They have really nice pastries and unique patisserie in Hong Kong. We enjoyed everything and it was just 50 meters away from our hotel. So the next hotel where we were actually staying was also from Marriott, but it was not JW anymore. It was Marriott Courtyard, located on the opposite side of Hong Kong Island. Between Hong Kong University and Sai Ying Pun, this hotel was way more affordable. The location was actually really good as well, so we definitely enjoyed it, and I recommend Marriott Courtyard as your hotel in Hong Kong. You can find a link to it in the description box of the video and in the pinned comment down below. And for us, once we left our bags at the hotel, it was time to go to the next attraction. This attraction, Victoria Peak, is probably the most popular attraction in Hong Kong. Actually, if you only have one day in Hong Kong, that's a place I recommend visiting. We only waited for so long to visit it because of the weather. Ideally, you need to go there when it is sunny. But before going to Victoria Peak, we actually decided to visit a place that is not as touristy, and I have actually never seen any tourists coming to this place, called Victoria Peak Gardens. It's such a quiet and beautiful park. You can just sit, enjoy and relax there, and you can also see a beautiful panorama of the city, almost a 360-degree panorama. From one of the hills in the middle of the park. It's free to visit, and as a student I used to come here quite a lot, so it's definitely one of my favorite places in the city. But of course, if you don't have enough time, you can probably skip it and go to the most popular attraction, Victoria Peak viewing platform and observation deck instead. So this is the view you can see from the main observation deck, the paid one. And of course, as you can see, it's absolutely stunning, absolutely breathtaking. Of course, if you have a chance, visit on a sunny day. And when it comes to the best time of a day to visit, I recommend visiting around the sunset time, so you can see Hong Kong when it's still light, when it's getting darker, and when it's dark and the lights are on. To come to Victoria Peak, there are multiple ways. So we took a taxi just because we were heading to Victoria Peak Gardens first, and it was the easiest way, and the taxi was not even too expensive. I think it was 15 or 20 pounds. But you can also come there by bus. It takes a while, of course. Or you can take a tram. The tram is also one of the main attractions of Hong Kong. It is actually pretty affordable. There is a combo where you can buy the entrance to the Sky Terrace, so Victoria Peak observation deck, and get a return ticket for the tram for £15 per person, or 148 Hong Kong dollars per person. It's a steal, but you do need to queue because the tram gets quite crowded, especially on the way up. After exploring Victoria Peak and Victoria Peak Gardens, we decided to walk around the mid-levels area again, and also decided to head to the famous Man Mo Temple. So this temple is a little bit of a tourist attraction, but you can see quite a few locals there. But you can also see lots of photographers coming to this place because of a unique light you can find there. So you can see the sunshine comes from above, and you can see this beautiful sun rays, and there were quite a few photographers trying to capture the perfect picture. The area around the temple is also nice, so you can definitely walk around for a couple of hours before heading for dinner. I recommend Genki Sushi for a very affordable sushi dinner. For breakfast, we actually decided to have noodle at a place nearby called Yinki Noodle. I think I found it in a Michelin guide, and it was actually really good, and we needed all the energy we could get for the hike we were planning to do. To get to the hike, we had to take MTR to the Shao Kei Wan station and then take a minibus number 9 to Shek O. But we had to visit earlier. It literally dropped us on the road, and that's where the hike started. So the hike is called Dragon Box Hike, and it's one of the most popular hikes you can do in Hong Kong because of the stunning views, because it's relatively simple, and because it's easily accessible by public transport, and it is also leading to a really nice beach. So common misconception about Hong Kong. Lots of people tend to think that Hong Kong is a really tiny piece of land with skyscrapers on it and there is no greenery, and this is so not true because Hong Kong is actually really green. More than half of Hong Kong is a protected area. There are so many beautiful national parks, there are beautiful remote beaches with white sand. And overall, it's just such a great hiking destination because the views from the hikes are absolutely unreal. And the reason why Hong Kong is so densely populated is because it is actually not allowed to build on, for example, these beautiful beaches. And actually, at the end of this hike, there is a really stunning beach, which I visited 10 years ago, but we couldn't visit it now because we didn't have time, and also it wasn't too warm to spend time on that beach. But if you are visiting maybe in May or in summer, that's the beach that is at the end of a hike. So the hike could be a half a day activity or could be a full day activity. It depends on you and depends on when do you wake up and when you get there and how fast do you hike. In our case, we got back to the hotel, we rested a little bit and just went out for dinner to a place nearby which was serving some fusion pasta. Next day for breakfast we had dim sum from one of the hole-in-the-wall restaurants, and it was glorious and very affordable. I think we spent less than £10 for all of it, and decided to go for a little walk around the area where we were staying, and then decided to take a tram to go to the Central. There is a network of trams operating on Hong Kong Island, and they're actually super helpful during the rush hour times. And they're called Ding Ding because of the noise that they make. And they're also a very cheap and nice way to see the Hong Kong Island. You can they're double-decker trams. You can hike to the second level and you can see the city from there. The place we wanted to visit didn't exist 10 years ago, so it was equally new for me. It's called Central Market, and it's actually not really a market at all. It's a shopping mall and street food market. There are plenty of stalls where you can find something to eat. There is also a large European deli where you can buy some European groceries, but there are also plenty of small stalls selling various things and souvenirs. We spent there a couple of hours before heading to our next destination. So to go to the next destination, we actually had to take MTR to Lantau Island to the Tung Chung station. This is a way to go to the famous cable car, the Nong Ping 360 cable car that goes to the Big Buddha, which is also one of the main attractions of Hong Kong. The ticket costs 160 Hong Kong dollars per person, or around £16. Yeah, it's not cheap. It's actually even more expensive than the tram and the observation deck combined. But I think it's worth it because the views from there are really, really nice. Unfortunately, in our case, it was quite stormy. So at some point, we actually had zero visibility. I guess I'm just a little bit unlucky with this cable car because I couldn't visit it for the first time 10 years ago because of a storm. It was actually closed, so I had to take a bus. Keep in mind, if the cable car is closed, there is a bus you can take. This time it worked, but these were the views we could see. And of course, you now understand what was waiting for us in the Big Buddha. The same, exactly. It was so foggy that we could barely see the Big Buddha, but somehow I actually enjoyed these views even more compared to a normal sunny day. I found it a little bit more mysterious. It wasn't actually as cold as it looks. It looks a little bit chilly, but it was at least 24 degrees. So it was absolutely fine to wear a t-shirt or a dress. There are also these beautiful cows wandering around the territory of the monastery and the Big Buddha. And some people actually touch them, but it is not allowed to touch them, so don't do that. And the temple was also really, really beautiful. Our next location was located just a short bus ride from Big Buddha. So we had to take a bus. Unfortunately, it goes only once an hour, so make sure to check the schedule and arrive there just before the departure time. Otherwise, you'll have to wait for another hour. And the location is the famous Tai O fishing village. It's one of the best preserved fishing villages in Hong Kong. And the journey there from Big Buddha only takes about 15 minutes, so it's really, really close, and it's definitely easy to visit both locations in one day. Because of that, Tai O Fishing Village is quite popular among tourists, although I must admit that I haven't seen that many tourists there. I've seen more locals, but obviously locals that don't live there, that just come there for a day on a weekend. And the reason why they come there is because, of course, they want to see the fishing village and see how the life in Hong Kong used to be 100 years ago. But lots of people also want to visit the market, the seafood market, and eat seafood in one of the restaurants. And there are plenty of restaurants. There is also interesting street food that you can only find in Tai O Fishing Village or maybe in other fishing villages, but definitely not in central Hong Kong. For example, these handmade mochis were pretty unique, and I was a little bit skeptical in the very beginning. But they actually tasted great, and I regretted that I didn't buy some of them for takeaway. We also tried this unique wrap. I think I've seen it on a couple of YouTube videos. Pepe really liked it, and I think it had something like dried shrimp inside. And on the island, there are also lots of cats that help with controlling the population of mice. Unfortunately, we didn't see Tai O Fishing Village in its full glory because of the low tide. Of course, in all the photos I've seen of the fishing village, the tide was high, so it looked a little bit different, a little bit more photogenic, but we enjoyed this place anyways. Also because of low tide, we were able to see so many crabs. And you know what surprised me the most? That people actually still lived in these stilt houses and completely rejected the modern way of living. To go back to the city center, you can either take the bus, and it takes quite a while, or there is a boat that goes every hour and that brings you to the same MTR station, and then you can take the MTR back to the city center. We made it just in time for the Symphony of Lights that starts every day at 8 p.m. But of course, you need to arrive a little bit early to grab a good spot. Otherwise, you'll stand behind 3 rows of people. The show only lasts for about 10 minutes. And to be completely honest with you, it's not very impressive. Lots of people expect something spectacular from it. But just the view itself is already very, very beautiful. For dinner, we had hot pot in one of many hot pot restaurants of Hong Kong. If you haven't tried it, I definitely recommend. You need to cook meat yourself. That, of course, if you're not a vegetarian. And then we also wanted to grab a cocktail. Of course, some of the best places in LKF were already packed, so we couldn't get in, but we had a cocktail in one of the bars that had space for us. On our last day in Hong Kong, we were really unlucky with the weather. There was a huge storm forecast at 12, so we decided to take the most of the morning. We headed all the way to the city center, again to the mid-levels area. There are plenty of brunch and lunch and breakfast places you can find. We found this place called Souffle because everything else seemed pretty packed. This cafe was specializing in Japanese-style waffles that are a little bit gooey. You'll see them in a couple of seconds, but it wasn't too expensive and it was really nice. So we actually enjoyed our breakfast there. And if you've never tried Japanese waffles, I recommend going there. They're really, really fluffy. Unfortunately for us, the storm arrived earlier than expected, so we had to change our plans a little bit. Instead of walking in the city center, we headed to the Elements shopping mall. We walked a little bit around the shopping mall before heading to the museum that we wanted to visit. This museum is called M+, and just like many places in Hong Kong, it didn't exist 10 years ago. It was actually opened, I think it was opened around around a year and a half ago, and it's a museum that specializes in modern art. It also had really nice views from the windows. From the windows, you can see the IFC Mall and some other beautiful skyscrapers, so a slightly different view to the one you can see from the Avenue of Stars, but nonetheless really pretty one. And when it's sunny, there's also a nice courtyard where you can chill, you can sit in the grass and enjoy the weather, but unfortunately, of course, because of the weather, we couldn't do so. My favorite part of the exhibition was dedicated to the history of Hong Kong. It was located on the ground floor next to the entrance. This museum is a paid museum. You need to buy a ticket, and the queue was actually quite long. I think we queued for about 40 minutes. And if you want to visit some special exhibitions, they are not included in the general admissions ticket, and you need to queue for them separately. I think overall this museum is very unique. Nothing of that kind has existed in Hong Kong before, so I'm really glad they opened a museum like this one. It's very impressive, it's beautiful, but I think you will only like it if you enjoy the modern art. If you like more traditional galleries, you might not enjoy it that much. Our flight didn't depart until really late, so we still had a bit of time to walk around the city. We wanted to check out this super popular Japanese restaurant. So we've been to Genkin Sushi before, but this one is even more popular. It's actually a Japanese chain, Sushiro, that only came to Hong Kong a couple of years ago, and there was a massive queue. We actually queued for an hour and a half to get there, but I think it was worth it because it was very affordable and the sushi were among the best ones we've ever tried in our entire life. But of course they were better in Japan, but I think Hong Kong sushi was the second best after Japan. Unfortunately, it was time for us to go back to the hotel to pick our bags. We decided to take a bus. There was surprisingly a direct bus that was stopping right in front of our hotel and that we could take from the restaurant, which was really, really convenient. But yes, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope that I managed to convey my love for Hong Kong. I still think it's one of the best places to visit on earth. And in case you have any questions, please leave them in the comments down below and see you guys in the next video.